Hello everyone, it's me again. So you hit the weekend, and I hope every one of you have a good weekend. And last week the markets still continue to be strong, even though with some volatility. Majorly, the market was driven by the FDA official approval of the vaccines, and also on Friday when Powell basically saying the relationship between the tapering and the interest rate increase is not directly related. So this kind of messaging that the interest rate is yet to be raised, which is good news, and the yield curve continued to be pretty stabilized below 1.35%. So and that's really driven the market to be higher. Typically, a lot of time when he made a speech, the market was actually falling apart, but this time it seems to be a pretty good news that the tapering is not going to happen. In September, like people trying to speculating and driving the market down. So I do want to share with you, the market chart again. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's actually doing very very well. Like last week, I was predicting the market was be down, and the reason we're saying that is again, if this is just 1 month snapshot, if you can go to Google or wherever the chart you feel comfortable to look at. You usually look at stock market. And if you look at 6 months, a year, and month, you can see a relatively comparison basis. I just want to highlight the snapshot of 1 month. But if you do 6 months, you do still see the V shape, in number of places. And last week when I was projected, the market was supposed to be down. And the way I think about it is because it was going downward, and I was predicting that, this will be actually trending more down to be creating another V shape. So apparently you can see that in Dow already formed a V shape in this sense. So you may actually, the way you're looking at it is about the weighted average of 50 days, and you probably will drive the market higher if there are favorable news, or even there no bad news with that. When no news is good news. And similarly, if you will have look at the other two index as well, which is the Nasdaq. The timeline wise, if you look at 1 month, it trended very, very similarly, but maybe the day differences on the percentage of volatility. But overall, you can see that it was follow very, very very similarly with the pattern of a month of the time where you're up and down, right? Except this day is actually different because it's Nasdaq's up while Dow was down. But overall, lately you can see it trending very similarly, and I'm projecting that this week, the coming week, we'll reach a higher and test another record high point. So Nasdaq having, on 26th, which is Thursday, actually hit the record high, and then Friday, there's intraday and then relativity. So it actually were up, but it's not as high as the record high time of Thursday. Dow Jones have been going up and down, but overall it was actually higher than the beginning of the week, and so does the S&P 500 is reaching out higher. And what I said last week, somebody was now projecting that it will be going up another 9% of S&P 500, and you can see all three indices, major indices, were trending in a month. 1 month chart is trending the same way. Okay, so somebody suggested me to show more graph and talk about it, in technical terms and so on. So I'm just telling you that, I was predicting that was actually another V shape down here. It didn't go and it bounced back. So chances are you will go up, this week. Probably will go up a little bit higher. And then again, if you see 3 days consecutive downward, then that may be potential sign of correction. Otherwise, no need to be worried. And then you probably will be in mid-September, at least for what I have heard from the people predicting. You will actually be, when the window dressing happening again for the quarter, the market will actually trend even higher. So that is how it looks in the market, given that the corporate tax haven't been a concern right now. For yield curve have been very stabilized, lower than 1.5%. The 3.5 trillion news that seems to be also positive, favorable. More people doing vaccinations, so things were looking pretty good. Although China again were kind of a little slowing down the GDP perspective, but it is still going to the right direction, and they were actually getting more people vaccinated as well. So So I want to give you a quick recap, and I may not read every single line of these anymore, but trying to go to quick and give a little highlight as go by each day. So money market was a surprise many investor. Investor were worried about Fed tapering in September drove market downward from previous week, but we gained confidence at FDA gave full approval of COVID-19 vaccine. That was really the driver of the market to turn around. Asian market FTSE and DAX rebounded from previous low. Despite many stock uptick, General Motors (GM) stock fell 2% after the Auto Giant decision to suspend sales of its Chevrolet Bolt electric vehicle. Uber stock fell 4.1% and Lyft also stock fell 4.4%. Price of PFG stock rose 3.5%. It will actually hit about $51, but now if you look at later Friday, it will drop them back again. And then so does that. Moderna, it was over $410, and now it's driving back. And Friday it was retreated to $385, closing at. Walt Disney stock rose 0.8% after Entertainment Giant generated $125 million in online revenue from Marvel superhero Black Widow. Like I said, I still believe Walt Disney will hit $200 back. Given that the more movies going to coming up. Chevron rose 1.9% stronger oil price, while Boeing rose 1.5%. Chevron and all energy stock were kind of rebounded periods last week. But they were still at. You look at 3 weeks comparison, they were still at a midpoint, not as the lowest point, but not if you bought it high, you probably still wouldn't make money. Climb in chip stock also boosted tests. NVDA hit record high amid ongoing momentum, continue following the chip makers better than expected quarterly result last week. And like I said, the NVDA is split, and I was recommended buying it last week. If you would have bought it after the split 200, you should make 10% already. You're currently up $225 in the stock, which if you do the math, about $900 a share already without a split. But then like Apple, Tesla, you can see that once it's split, they actually to push the stock 20% higher. So before they actually driving back down, just reference point. PayPal is also looking to expand its presence in crypto space, and they will now allow UK to buy, hold, and sell for 4-digit token. Those tokens are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Oil rebounded from low $61 at the end of the week, about $68, and drove energy sector went by 3% higher for the week. Occidental Petroleum, Deva Energy, and APA Corporation were among the winner of Monday. Gold has reached slightly higher than 1800 after close Monday. The burst of growth evidenced by release Monday of Chicago Fed Economic Activity Index, which rose to 0.53 in July from minus 0.01 in June. It depends on which side and how you're looking at these data. Tuesday market continued to build momentum, so particularly huge comeback on Chinese stock. So sentiment switched sharply in the Chinese market since the country said it stopped the community spread of COVID-19. JD.com went up about 10%, while Pinduoduo rose over like 19%, I think, on that day on the intraday high. Pinduoduo on Tuesday said it was dedicated to its first 10 billion yuan in profit. The Chinese farmers showed that company already adjusting profitability to a threat of with distribution raised by C at a government meeting last week. So there was some talking about rich people get richer in China, so they are trying to reallocate it to be more fairly on the population of distribution. So that's why some of the high giant tech was really get beat down and concerned. But really, again, this is a good policy. I mean, with pandemic, I don't know if companies take advantage of what, but just making rich people so rich and poor people because they couldn't get a job. They actually were told that virus and spread and less economic activity, they actually pay lower than even pre-pandemic. So they were very difficult to survive. So I think this policy is really good in terms of adjustment. You just we're in transitional period when people get used to it, and really we adjust the way how it shape up and forecasting of the company earnings and so on. And I truly believe that large companies should really focus a lot more donation and things into the community, give it back to the community. So I actually supporting that. Cruise operator, including Carnival Corporation, CCL, rose as the share of casino MGM, which actually did rebound to $43 at Friday close, and so does Wayne Resources as well. Airline also rose, so best, but still remain about United is still at about $47.50 close about Friday. Best Buy stock rose 4.3% after the electric retailer raised its full-year forecast. Wally Casino stock stock added further fuel to rallying consumer discretionary stock after Macau. Megatech stock trade mostly high, and Wednesday Citigroup also gone up. Late Tuesday, the House passed a merger approving 3.5 trillion budget blueprint with a 222-12 vote. Tuesday passage of budget framework open process known as reconciliation. With that, the market also rallied Wednesday. Nasdaq Composite on the other hand reached the 15,000 milestone for the first time, which is really record high. Retail investor above 400 million US listed Chinese stock this week, which was the highest over 15 years. So I want to highlight that, like I said, buy at the dip of the Chinese stocks, so there's some momentum of buying them back on the retail side, and really pushing the market went up with the news of the earnings of JD and Pinduoduo were better than expected. Chinese ADR purchases saw last Friday and buy momentum continue through Tuesday. JD.com saw Tuesday after reporting record user growth. Wednesday, the market continued with momentum optimism to drive most of sectors higher. US stock dropped Thursday after hitting record high, which is kind of normal. Normally, a weekly jobless claim reached an adjusted 333,000 last week. Like I said, there's still a lot of job, but then there's still people lay off, and there's still issues with people finding job with the environment, whether you hear from the news. And I will tell you that if you hear my previous video, you knew what happened to me. I worked for a company for a week, and they went up. I mean, there's something really wrong with this company, and they wouldn't even pay me for that week I worked for. So, you can hear a lot of this stuff, and I keep telling you, there's a lot of scam out there and fraud for people who are trying to reach a job and get a job. All they want, if you think about it, is just survive, right? If you're not rich people, like the people who don't need to do any work, CEO, they can make any one sentence, they make really the world changes and really have a huge impact. We're just a little nobody, and we just want to survive and get a job with our skills. So I hope people truly understanding that and don't, despite what the news telling you now, I hope you have some sympathy and empathy for people, and don't really thinking these people are people who actually don't have the skill, don't know what's going on. The skill is outdated. That's not a true statement. So the market was picking up quicker, but there are too much low-level jobs right there, and there are too many jobs that they actually asking people with 5 or 10 years experience still paying at the way like entry-level job pay. So something I'm not, you can check it out and look at it, with the skill and sectors and where you are, and you will find out that what I said probably true, and because there are a bunch of people like restaurant people who didn't have job, and they very evaluated how much they get paid to begin with, and so with a mix, maybe statistically still showing that the payroll was increased, but again the middle class people which making $55,000 to maybe $90,000 or so, they actually probably have to take a huge pay cut. They just didn't. Normally most of the people don't tell you about it. They don't even tell you nowadays they lost a job for so long that they find a job. Really, there's nothing to celebrate, right? Like the old days when people switch job, they would tell you. But these days, because of the pandemic, really, it's not. That's just people need a job. End of story. That's my opinion. Salesforce rose more than 2% after delivering an upbeat outlook on annual performance. Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Google will trade lower. However, Dell beat revenue estimate as remote work fuel demand, while retailer Gap raised its full-year forecast. So retail was pretty strong, and also the stock were up. And Gap actually did coming back, so they reached a really high of $30-some, and they push it back to $27, I think. So you can look at it if you're interested about Gap. You think the retail, this company, you think it's good potential. You may be able to buy more, but that. I noticed that retail stock's still pretty strong at this point. On Friday, momentum. Continental-wide stock 600 index was roughly flat in Europe. In Asia, China's CSI 300 index climbed 0.53%, but Japanese Nikkei 225 fell 0.36%. Stronger earnings from Dick's Sporting Goods and Williams consumer spending is doing just fine. Both consumer deliver robust earning results and have both clocked in strong 2-year growth rate. Federal Reserve Chairman Powell said the central bank could begin reducing its monthly bond purchase this year, though it won't be in a hurry to begin raising raising interest rate thereafter. The economy has now met the test of substantial further progress. Two of the Fed's inflation objectives that Powell and his colleagues said would be a precondition for tapering the bond purchase, while the labor market has also made clear progress. The Fed chief said Friday in a prepared text of a virtual speech. So this is kind of telling you that they are prepared to tapering, but yet not going to happen next month in September. 10-year Treasury yield launched slightly lower to around 1.32%, and market perceive it as favorable to push stock higher. We have said that we will continue to hold the target range for a federal funds rate at its current level until the economy reaches condition consistent with maximum employment. Inflation has reached 2%, is on track to moderate exceed 2% for some time, he said. The Apple boss was awarded more than 5 million shares in technology company as final part of compensation package he received when he took over as CEO a decade ago, which bought in $750 million for him. Dollar index in around 92.69 for a week, invest at 16.39 with yield curve below 1.35%. Oil rebounded to 68.38 and gold rose to 18.21 per ounce. Overall, Dow Jones was down slightly by 2.2% compared to previous Friday close, but Nasdaq was up 2.8% to 14,714.66, and S&P 500 was up 1.5%, 67.7 points to 4441.67. So, really last week was a very strong and good with that. I thought maybe the market would be doing some adjustment, but yet with the FDA full approval news, with people expecting what Powell's speech would be favorable, the market just kept driving higher. So we'll see how Monday set up. Right now, the futures is set to be positive. So prior to the recent sale of the market, we have later placed not much focus in this meeting with production policy set until the end of the year. However, with the recent weaknesses in price, the market will now be eagerly wanting to see if the group decides to delay some of its earnings cut. ING analyst said in a note. 1/3 of hedge funds in our analysts held a China ADR in the long-run portfolio at the start of third quarter, contributing to recent headwinds against hedge fund return, Goldman explained. The bank analyzed 813 hedge funds with nearly $3 trillion in gross equity position at the start of July. According to the Thursday note from Goldman said, recent underperformance by U.S. hedge fund has part being driven by the exposure to Chinese stocks. So, like I said, the Chinese stocks have been really gone down very, very hardly in the last 2 weeks. And if you look, probably not previously, but the week before those 2 weeks, and you can see that some of them probably oversold. So that's why you're driving the net with the great earnings of JD.com, it was rebounding some of these stocks significantly, Chinese stock about 10+%. So if it have been this week will be stabilized, not going further down. I mean, I think it's still a good time to buy the Chinese stock, and if the return, you look at long run, will still give you 25% plus. So I'm still go for those. I think this Chinese stock were in oversold territory. A stellar U.S. corporate earnings section season expected to lift the S&P 500 by another 8% for the end of the year. Analysts at Wells Fargo said on Tuesday, implying a nearly 28% jump for the benchmark equity index in 2021. So this is where I said earlier that there was somebody saying the S&P 500 would jump another 8 or 9%, and then another analyst said that too. In raising the price target for the index to 48.25 points, Wells Fargo analyst Christopher Harvey said S&P 500 firm has so far been seeing their earnings per share forecast raised by 21%, and the trend shows no sign of abating. The buy the dip mentality among investors have been helping stocks stick close to record high for the year. Keith Bonchman, senior portfolio manager at Goldbach Investment, told Insider on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the U.S. economy is recovering from the worst of the coronavirus pandemic, but it's been showing signs of a slower consumer and other activity, he said. It isn't to say that history is about to repeat itself. It could, but one thing this data tells us that the tighter financial conditions is something the equity market doesn't like. If conditions tighten further from here, it's likely to disrupt the stock market value. But like I said, on Friday's speech, Powell was basically indicating that if the tapering happening, it will be the potential end of the year, and interest rate not necessarily directly corresponding with that. What that translates to is that we see more volatility upcoming future. So last week it was the market has some volatility, people buying at a dip. That's how you can take advantage of that. So this approach probably will work continuously but you do have to monitor the market very closely. U.S. future again is still positive, given Friday favorable Biden and other which this is a typo, but the political risk is really maybe impacting the market. That's probably the only thing I think of right now that can drive the market to be going down. And then the FDA approval of vaccine, people continue vaccinated, which is going to be a quick sign. Although I know some school actually did this, school, because kids don't at this point cannot be getting vaccinated, so the kids actually get COVID, which the teacher send them home, and then they also need to be tested in office. Hopefully the parents or whoever didn't get them, otherwise it will rouse better. So school is still an issue, but I think in US, because of the budget conditions and the determination of state, they just want to send kids back to school rather than online learning. So I'm not sure. We still have to see that piece, how it's going to shape up. So these two are the big uncertainty of that. And given that the yield curve will continue to be stable, not suddenly with some bad news just skyrocketing back to 1.5, 1.75%. Bitcoin is over $49,000 right now at the moment. I'm looking at it. It's also a quick sign. Market remains strong, and this is these days, cryptocurrency give you a good indication about the stock market. Again, it's important to close watching the market and discussion about the overvaluation. I mean, Warren Buffett always say, they're 2 times overvalued already if using his indicator. So, but then you gotta realize, my story always have been, if the 100 stock, 95 stock are overvalued right now, the market won't even talk about it, right? Just like you're trying to travel, go across the traffic light, pedestrian trying to go across the traffic light may be broken or something, so people don't want to wait, even though it's red light, they still rush through the light, and you get 100 people going through it, 95 of them were violation of the traffic light, but what the policeman can do, can't really give them a ticket because there's too many, 95, right? So the market right now, yes, you're going to look, if other stock and market continue to be volley, you take advantage of that at the moment, right? But you have to watch it closely. It's still, to me, that this week looks like your probably will be upward trend, but ultimately, I still believe there will be a correction driving a dip again before you're reaching out to another record high. I'm still looking for more rebound on Chinese stock over the next few months. So hope you like the video, and if you have any questions, just send me an email. Like I said, look at the trend, and it will give you, if you look at 1 month, that's a dip already, which is like the other one that normally the dip that it will continue to valley before it could go down in a dip like this type of deal, All right.